What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I am BDLM, coming to you with my buddy J4Y, bringing you episode number 36 of our Dota on Demand podcast. What's going on, man?
What is going on, man? It's another Saturday morning cast. Well, I guess it's technically closer to noon than it is till morning, but we can still call it that because it is. And yeah, so this is our second time trying out this Saturday thing. Not on purpose, of course. It is more the fault of us having crazy, awesome landage time in the off season. I don't know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
We can attempt to blame the fact that we're having problems trying to stream out on your internet. Apparently,
yes.
I just have an aura of horrible internet working. And so we tried actually casting some Reddit League games while I was over at your place, and had some trouble doing that, unfortunately. So what can you do? But I got to cast them during the day, which I hope came out all right. We'll see. But yeah, here you go. Saturday morning, talking about Naga Siren, and also have some stuff to mention about Templar Assassin, who's just been so potent in the professional scene. And then we also have some announcements to make for our podcast in general.
Exciting. Which one do we start on is the question. Probably the announcements.
Probably the announcements.
That would make the most sense logically. So let's do that. So I'll try to start going over some of them, and if I forget or whatever, or I'm wrong, go ahead and throw something in there. But
well, I only know one, so...
Oh, well then there you go. Well, it's kind of one, but it could be big. Well, anyways, let me just start off, and we'll go from there. So we've been... If you know us well enough, you should know that we've been kind of partnered with Dota Talk with our things. We've made announcements. There's a little picture of it in the middle of the screen. But really that hasn't been fruitful, is a way to put it. There hasn't really been a lot from that partnership. It's more like they post our episode every now and then. We get maybe an extra handful of views, and the world keeps on spinning. But big plans are in the works for Dota Talk, including their revamp of their site. If you go to dotatalk.com, you'll see it. It should be there, and it's all fancy and pretty and colorful and cool. And anyways, along with that is actually a new opportunity for us to start doing a lot more Dota Talk related things. And what we mean by that is tournaments are going to start hosting and things along those lines. These, of course, are actually focused more, at least right now, in the Southeast Asia scene than anywhere else. But what that means for us is that we actually are going to probably tag up under the alias of Dota Talk. So yes, we are apparently huge sellouts, is what I'm trying to get the bottom line out. See, this is the thing. It's sellouts, but without making money. Does that make sense? What do you call that when you're a sellout, but you don't actually gain from it with monetary value?
Bad decision making. I think that's what you call it.
I was drunk last night or something. I don't know what we're calling it. But yeah, so basically we're going to... there's going to be a new Twitch channel. There's going to be a YouTube channel for Dota Talk. And we're going to, when we start doing these Dota Talk things, we're going to be under that alias and posting it and doing the live cast, etc., etc. So once we get that all finalized, we'll definitely give you guys all that information so you don't have to worry about it. But I don't know that we're still going to do much on this Twitch channel or YouTube afterwards. We might still keep posting things on our YouTube just because, why not? Yeah, I like to talk, but it's Dota Talk at least.
So the summary, I think, is we're going to be renaming our podcast. We will keep posting these for a couple weeks on this channel. Once we get the other one started up, we'll continue to post on here for a little while, give you guys some transition time so you can handle the change.
Yes.
And then after that, we'll be probably exclusively just putting stuff up on that channel. Maybe a slightly shorter version of the epic poem.
You need that. You need a long version and a short version. And if people don't like the long, they can skip to the short. So
there you go. Well, yes. So that's it, pretty much, I think.
Yeah, that's actually pretty much it. So
there you go. So let's get into the meat of the cast here. Let's get into the Templar Assassin, who has been just silly over the past couple weeks and has made like a much bigger impact than I was expecting. I'll be honest, like I never messed with her a whole lot back when I was playing Dota 1.
Yeah.
But man, she has been just instrumental in many just completely one-sided victories in the professional scene.
Yeah, I mean, when we were talking about this hero in the first place, I was like excited for her to come out because I've always liked her. But yeah, I had no idea she would actually be played as much as she is in this current meta. Like you said, like it didn't seem to be make sense because she's a very gank heavy, very interesting. And then also the short range. I'm like, well, how strong can she be with this tiny range? But apparently, every time I used to watch her, at least in Dota 1, I never saw her get a blink dagger or anything along those lines. So I never saw her actually be effective. And apparently with the blink dagger, you can be amazingly effective on this hero, with the way especially it works with refraction, as Shiver pointed out in our last episode, of how if you pop refraction, blink dagger won't go on cooldown if you're absorbing those instances. Like there's so many cool things about her that really makes her strong in these fights.
Yeah, and I mean, I think another part of it too is just how quickly she's coming to strength in these games. It's like by the 20-minute mark, she's just tearing people apart. And she's been really strong, and I think almost completely responsible for how a lot of these games are turning out, for teams winning almost solely because people just can't find an answer for that Templar Assassin after the picks.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, obviously she's very squishy. Refraction is literally like the only reason she survives at all. And if you do get those picks like Venomancer and Leshrac, like we said, which are decent counters, but it's not like a hard counter because still at the end of the day, oh, you went rectangle on me.
I did.
You went rogue. Oh well, that's okay. I'll survive. But yeah, oh god, I lost my train of thought. Oh, even if you pick those heroes that are like kind of counters against refraction, she still is going to be very effective in that game and very mobile with the blink dagger when she gets that quick. So it's like it's hard to really stop her. You really, I think, need you need at least a few heroes or a really solid Beastmaster ult or something to like just keep her there so you can burn her down really quick. Because once you get through that refraction, she's gone. If you get through that, like that's the whole point, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the most effective counter to I've seen so far is, like I was mentioning when we did talk about Templar Assassin with Shiver, was the Venomancer. It was actually Venomancer mid, completely shut down the Templar Assassin, nothing she could do. Because the dots and then the wards as well, smart placement with them can ensure that you at least are taking off 1 or 2 stacks of the refraction. It just makes her very difficult to get the kind of farm she needs to be able to get that blink dagger, to get that mobility and be able to blink around. If you guys are interested in seeing some of those games, Bottom versus Empire in the defense, and then Mouse versus DK, which I believe was part of the Summit tournament. Beyond the Summit.
You having these things ready to go. Oh, I'm so
I've actually
proud.
been doing things this week, aside from the fact that the cast is late. And yeah, like actually in the Empire versus Bottom game, I noticed you were asking about how about Medallion? And Scandal actually did pick up Medallion on her.
Nice.
Interestingly enough. But also there was an SK that picked up Veil of Discord to dispel your claims that
we were watching
maybe
that game
just
together, I believe, and I was just like, oh man, it happened.
Yeah. You must be very lucky in just like not selecting the games where that was picked up previously. Because, yeah, there you go. Now you know. Now you're aware.
No, I've always said I think the item is interesting. It's just it sometimes can maybe be thought to be kind of hard to coordinate with the rest of your team, but I can see where it definitely has its strengths. I'm not going to bash it too much, but I'm happier about TA coming in than I'm more upset about that item being shown. Does that make sense? Probably not.
No,
well,
not at all.
Oh, I was hoping it did. But and then the traps. That's another big important reason why she's so good. The vision around the map. Obviously, like people put them at the runes, they put them in those tiny little areas, and they're just amazing for ganking in general and setting up kills. Like you'll see her pop it like right, and they're defending a tower. She'll use it, instantly detonate it, and then blink in and do tons of damage. Like there's just, oh god, she's good.
Yeah, the ones placed at the runes, I think, are always funny because it's like someone will race her to a rune and beat her, but there's a trap there, so she just pops it and then kills them. It's like, hope you enjoyed the rune.
F91 in chat says Timo Assassin is OP.
Yes,
pretty
there
much.
You go. There's your League of Legends reference, everybody. Gotta get one in.
We got it because that's all we talk about. Is
that's Legends. All we play.
So
we actually, I do have to say, while we were landing, we played this game called Smite. I don't know if you guys are aware of it. I actually streamed it for days while J4Y was at work, which is actually pretty interesting. It's like a third-person mobile, which is kind of neat. You guys should go ahead and check it out. But that's been a fun distraction.
Yeah, it's a distraction, it's true. I could see it definitely growing old if we kept playing it at the rate we did for like 2 weeks, especially also because of the limited pool right now. It's like, and we can only afford one hero every 30
8
hours
years.
invested in the game or something. So, yeah, definitely not. But anyways, it's a fun game. But back to the most fun of games, the Game of Thrones. Oh no, wrong thing. Yeah,
Solitaire.
Tia, good. But let's get to the real meat, the potatoes. I guess that was the meat. Let's get to the potatoes
Okay.
of this article episode
All right.
thingamabob.
Naga
Naga
Siren.
Naga Siren, as she's
Yes.
called in Spain.
Go ahead and run
Let's
through
go
them.
over these abilities really quick, since you've got some wonderful descriptions here on the show. 4 abilities. Mirror image is the first one, and she makes 3 images of yourself. Probably herself, but either way, you could make 3 of yourself as well, and just have a good time. I'm trying to make fun of you.
Okay.
Just go with it.
Good luck.
Second ability, Ensnare. Basically, she throws a net, and it latches onto an enemy and holds them in place. Immobilizes them, I guess I should say, and it interrupts also any channeling as well, which is an interesting note. And it goes through Magic Immunity, which we'll probably get into more later in this discussion, but is also very awesome. Riptide, an AoE around her. I'm trying to compare it. What move? Is there a move in the game already that's similar, like the AoE around her?
Mm,
I'm trying to think.
I mean, it's sort of like Anchor Smash, except it functions completely
Yeah.
differently. But that's the kind of area.
It's
actually
a
probably
bigger
bigger than
version
that.
of Anchor Smash. Basically, it's a huge AOE around you. After a small, tiny little cast time, it goes off and it does damage and also reduces armor of anyone around you. And then finally, her ultimate, which is amazing, is called Song of the Siren. What she basically does, she pops this on, and everyone in an enormous radius basically gets CC'd. They start sleeping, if you will, and during this CC, they can't do anything, they can't move, but they're also invulnerable, so they can't be damaged by anyone on your team. However, it is a radius, so well, there's some nuances. I guess we'll get into that later. We're not going to try to break it down too much right now. But overall, a pretty strong hero.
Yeah, I mean, plays that carry role pretty well in a melee agility hero. So we often forget to mention
Oh, yes, we do.
exactly
Yes.
what she is. But yeah, you did a pretty good job going over all those abilities. I mean, the one thing to mention about the mirror images too is like as you rank it up, you decrease the amount of bonus damage taken and increase the amount of damage they do. But yeah, I think overall it's a really strong hero, and she's been showing up a lot as well too. I think the first game I actually saw her and she lost, it was MTW trying to use her, but she actually has been really popular in Dota 1 recently. Played with Tidehunter as well, and she's been really strong being able to combo those ultimates. And I think that's really what is probably the strongest thing about her is if you are able to catch the enemy team in a bad position, you pop that ultimate and you just hold them there, and you can let your allies like Enigma, like Tidehunter, do the calculations, break out the surveying equipment, and just find the perfect position to let off their ultimates to do the most damage that it can.
I think very specific to that is what we saw happen a few times was Aged Apparition used in conjunction with her. And obviously, his ultimate is one of the harder ones to time perfectly to try to hit as many people as possible. But since this is a very long 7-second duration, he gives him plenty of time to start that cast. So he'll shoot his first instance, and then by the time they coordinate it, she snaps her ulti off, and then he throws that second orb, and that's when big damages happen. But yeah, that's a really cool thing. I think it's like you said, just setting up all these different AoE moves that might normally not be so easy to do.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, like you were starting to get into as well, the Ensnare is a fantastic ability as well because it does go through Magic Community. It's sort of like the Crystal Maiden, quote unquote, stun, that her crowd control. It will hold you in place. You can still cast spells. You can still attack, but it goes through Magic Community, which means people popping BKB, enemy carries, or rage from a Nyx you can hold them in place and get away or catch up to them if you want to.
Yeah, and also units that do go invisible while they're ensnared are still visible during it, which is very helpful. And apparently it does dispel non-combat consumables, like health pots and clarity potions, if you need to interrupt those somehow, for whatever reason. But yeah, the most important thing of that is, I think, also the Magic Immunity. Going through that, holding down those heroes, for example, like Lycanthrope. who gets that BKB. Oh, let's ensnare him for 5 seconds. He's pretty much worthless for like half of his ultimate now because you can just keep him in one place. Cool things like that. And then the mirror image, we're going with these like little nuances along the way that we've kind of picked up. While you cast it, because it has a small cast time, you are invulnerable. So you can also use this to disjoint stuns and other abilities, as well as it works similar to Manta style. I remembered it very quick. It was 2 snaps of the finger and I had it. You can use it to dispel things like Ancient Apparition on you or other debuffs. So that's another cool thing about that. It's like having a Manta style at all times. It's pretty nice.
Really fantastic. And then of course Mana Style is also a very viable pickup. When we finally get to that. But yeah, I mean the Riptide is just a fantastic ability as well. 5 armor reduction in an area, and all of your illusions will also put out that effect.
Yes.
So you really can spread it out across the team. Or across a larger area, I should say, to make sure that you're hitting the entire enemy team if you have that kind of micro ability. To be able to take away all that armor, and that's huge when you consider that not only is she going to be beating on you, but she's going to have images of herself attacking you as well. So that armor reduction is really important.
Yeah, and back in Dota 1, we were kind of discussing it in the last podcast. I keep remembering that these things have popped up, but she used to have crit chance instead of Riptide in her 3rd slot, and then they decided to make it this new spell. And I think it just obviously makes her so much more effective in a team comp as well, because instead of having a chance to do more damage, now you have guaranteed AoE damage that also reduces armor. It's just like, wow, she is so much better built for these team fights. And like you were saying, to work that with the mirror images is really cool. I actually remember playing what was like a bot game or something when she first came out, but like I didn't even know I got a kill when I used it, but like I'm like, how did I kill that person? I'm like, oh, my image is already up there and he must have casted Riptide when I did. Sweet. The how much range and impact she has for a melee hero is actually pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's good to point out. I never even really thought about that. She does have just like, I mean, the area on that ultimate is ridiculous. It's 1,250. So it's just this huge area that she's able to lock down with that ultimate alone. And then yeah, like we were saying, you can have you can have the Riptide area spread out with your images. You can ensnare from actually a pretty long distance as well, 650. So really does have a lot of reach for being a melee hero, like you're saying.
For that ultimate, to try to think of it, like a normal auto attacker, like Keeper of the Light, for example. No, how about people you might know? Or just basic range heroes that have a decent range. Like that's normally about 600 range they have. Twice that auto attack range is the radius for this thing. So that might give you a better summation of like, holy crap, this is going to affect everybody. Like, I just remember there was one fight in one of the games I think maybe you mentioned or we were watching, but they killed Roshan and the other team was on their way to get it, and then they realized, so they started turning around. But she was at like the ramp in the river, popped her ultimate, and was hitting people up the other ramp on top of the hill, like so far away near the neutral camp. I'm like, how are those people affected by this CC? And they were able to set up easy kills because she caught them all with their pants down, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, on top of that too, it's really an effective escape tool. She's very hard to gank if that ultimate is up, because you're not going to find other abilities that have that kind of reach. So she can just pop the ultimate, TP out. Or I actually saw in several games she was against a Queen of Pain that would try and blink to try and fight her, would blink into the ultimate radius and then go to sleep immediately. So unable to really land that last hit on her, and it's a fantastic ability for that as well.
And I don't know if we mentioned it, but leveling the Song of Siren, it starts at a 3-minute cooldown, and it goes down a minute every time you level it up. That's the only thing that changes. The duration's still 7, the radius is the same, and the mana cost stays 100, so you just take a minute off every time you level that up.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously it's a huge amount of cooldown reduction, but I think it's also huge that you get a 7-second duration at level 6.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. You have most ultimates will increase, the duration or the damage, but here it's just that flat amount, and it's the cooldown that you're really reducing. And yeah, once you get it up to that level 3, it's so hard to take her down because she'll have it most likely for team fights as well as when you might try and go to gank her.
Yeah, so obviously very awesome abilities, and this is why she was picked or banned in almost every game that I've seen recently in the pro scene. Just it might also have to do something with teams not having a good counter quite yet built up, so like people can take advantage of all these abilities that no one understands. Well, they may understand, but you know, I mean, like they're just not prepared. So yeah, I mean, that kind of happens also when new heroes enter the scene in general, and the way they're entering the scenes now, it seems to be a pretty common thing now that the new heroes that come into the pool are automatically in captain's mode. They don't even have that usual week that people play around with. No, it's just right smack, you're in the game. And so these teams are just ready to go to use these. And the cool thing is tournaments aren't like auto banning these heroes either. Like they're like, that's cool, pick them up. You know, everyone's on the same level here. No one's got an advantage over the other. So, you know, do what you will.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we'll be talking about this on Tuesday. Hopefully, that'll be enough time for us to go over the 3 heroes that just got added. But yeah, I think within 24 hours they were added into captain's mode in the regular client. So coming in very quickly, and you know, that can be good or bad depending on if you have players on your team that are like, oh, yeah, I got this. Don't worry, guys. I'll just pick up that hero. They won't even see it coming, and it'll be great.
Basically. So let's go down into maybe some item pickups that you'll see typically on this hero. Starting off, well, first of all, the laning phase. We'll try to make that. You would have to expect her to be with a support. Not a great solo hero, I wouldn't say, just because she has, she has the okay damage, but she is a melee. She is a squishy agility, and her only real escape is ensnaring someone and trying to run until that ultimate's up. So, you would agree to lane with a support?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that was pretty easy. I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page there. I don't know. Maybe you think she's a jungler. Then I'll let you explain.
Jungler. Solo Roshan.
Jungle Siren, as some call her. But yeah, so she's probably going to be in that farm lane for you. And so a very, very common, I think, early game core item is that Ring of Aquila. I think that can go pretty much uncontested. Maybe you could say other mana. Oh, well, I know which one you're going to say, but I'll leave you for that. But I know, I always do that. I predict what you're going to say. I'm psychic.
You're probably right in this case. I would also like picking up a Stout Shield early on. You see a lot of Naga Sirens do that, just to try and get some resistance in that earlier part of the game, because she doesn't really get a whole lot of like health regeneration until later on in the game. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, that's not what I expected you to say. I thought you were going to say
Arcane Boots. I could say Arcane Boots,
okay.
Yeah. Pretty much standard, which is just fantastic to really help remedy that situation. Of course, the game will actually recommend Steam Boots, but Power Treads.
No!
P-Treads. P-Treads!
Okay.
One of these days, I'll get it. But yeah, I mean, just making sure that you have the mana for all these abilities, I think is kind of obvious. And, like leveling up those abilities, which is something we never really talked about. I think, going for the 1-1-1 and then maxing the Riptide is pretty important. And when you consider that with like some heroes like Chaos Knight, for instance, you go 2 abilities until you're level 9. If you're picking up all those spells, you really do need the mana to be able to keep that up. So Arcane Boots are a great way to make up for that.
Yeah, even though they're pretty cheap, I mean, each one at rank 1's about 70 or 80 mana, so compared to other abilities from other heroes, it's kind of affordable. And when if you do go that Ring of Aquila, you're going to have decent injury. So I think the Arcane Boots they might be core. It depends, I guess, how you build it. But, I can definitely see where they're effective, especially with Riptide. People seem to spam that as often as possible. A 10-second cooldown is not super long for the laning phase. But it is also important to know, because we didn't say cooldowns either, except for the ultimate. The mirror image is 40 seconds, so that's a pretty long cooldown. And when at those early ranks, when illusions take 600% at rank 1, if anyone has any AoE at all on the other team, your images are instantly dead. They're not surviving it. That's just way too much damage. But when you do level it up, eventually it goes down to 300%, which is
still pretty high.
It's pretty high. I think it's pretty similar to Manta Style then at that point damage. I think it's like 250 or 300 for Manta Style images, but it's at least pretty close. And then they start doing 45%. So, and they do last 30 seconds, which is why I think the cooldown's so long, because they last a long time. So if they don't die instantly, maybe you can get a lot of benefit from pushing or other instances there.
Yeah. I think another core item, especially in conjunction with the mirror images, is that Diffusal Blade. For the same reason that anti-mages go with the Manta Style, because you can just burn so much mana with the multiple mirror images. They do get that effect, and of course you're getting additional agility, which is fantastic, and the Purge, which is great. So now you have the Ensnare and the diffusal blade purge, so it's really difficult for enemies to get away from you. And I think really after that point, the only thing that I think you would see as being super common on her would be like a Heart of Tarask in the professional scene, because she is rather squishy, and just being able to keep her up for a long time is very important.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's funny when you see them build Manta style, because then they have all the images in the world. Like Chaos Knight with Manta style. It's just hysterical. But yeah, no, it's definitely effective either way. I think the Heart's interesting as well. People don't like to get lifesteal on her typically, just because, for a few reasons. First of all, they'd rather go something like a Heart, I think, just so they can be in and out of the fight. The other thing is you have that ultimate, the really great CC. So if you're on the verge of dying, then you could just pop that and TP out. I mean, like, you don't really have to worry about sustaining in a fight as much. I think you're all about doing a big amount of damage and CCing the really important people in the fight. I think that's her main task there. So I don't think lifesteal would be a great choice on her as a whole.
Yeah, no, I agree. Of course, there are other fantastic items. I mean, like you said, Mana Style is definitely a good pickup. Assault Curious, I like it as well. Daedalus would be another good one. There are plenty of other just sort of standard carry items that you could grab on her to make her more effective. But yeah, I think we sort of listed for the core items are really sort of what you'll see on her most commonly.
Yeah, obviously people build for the game too. So yeah, I mean, you'll sometimes see like that Vanguard. Just that comes on any hero. Like if you're afraid of dying very quickly. I mean, just such things as that. But I expect her to stay around, honestly. At least for a while in the meta, if not for the rest of it, just because of all these abilities being so amazing for every aspect. It doesn't even matter if it changes to like back to a farm. If it changes back to the Farm Fest meta from where it started, she's perfect for that. She'll do well with farm. If it's if it's the pushing, she has illusions. She has ways to prevent enemy heroes from attacking and whatnot. Although it does also make buildings invulnerable. Something else to note with that ultimate. So you can't like pop your ulti in their base and only attack the tower while everyone's CC. That would be kind of stupid.
That would be hilarious. Yeah. But they also do stop attacking as well.
Yeah.
Which is nice to point out. But yeah, no, I agree. I mean, she really is just a great hero all around, and it's gonna be. I think she's gonna be around for a long time. Because yeah, I mean, I think the other big sort of choice in team composition that you didn't mention there is just even like team fight abilities, and obviously that's the Siren Song is fantastic, and then we have your other AoEs as well. Just a great pickup for any of those.
Truly is. Truly is. I actually don't know though how often. I don't think I've seen her as much in the Asian scene as much as the European and the other one. So it'll be interesting to see how they value a hero like this. I know they also like Templar Assassin a lot. I think that hero is just across the board picked up a lot, but I don't know. If Naga Siren will be exactly the same, we'll have to see. Because I like to see those differences. Like, if some people really think... Like, Nature's Prophet, I think, at least in the Southeast Asia, is really not... he gets through the ban pool, like, all the time. Like, they just don't... They're not afraid of him. Whereas in European, you'll see him pretty much auto-banned, like Darkseer.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. And it'll be nice, hopefully, with this... with doing more with Dota Talk, we'll actually be a lot more aware of that Southeast Asian scene and be able to get that kind of information to you guys, which will be fantastic, of course.
Indeed, but I think that's pretty much the gist of it. And unfortunately, like you said, we haven't had a lot of time to actually play ourselves, so we don't have too many anecdotes or whatever. That actually was a good word. I liked it. I almost said antidote, but then
Antidotes.
Antidotes. We have a few antidotes lying around. But yeah, for the most part, hopefully we will be able to get some new games, especially with the new heroes, which we'll be excited to talk about next week. That'll be a lot of fun. So look forward to that episode as well. But yeah, get out there, play some games with her, because you will be able to do pretty well, I think, regardless, as long as you have that ultimate ready to go. And yeah, let us know how you do if you want.
Yeah, as always, you guys are welcome to send us any questions or comments or any kind of experiences you've had in the game. Of course, we'd love to bring those up. If you guys have any with the three new heroes, the Nyx, the Keeper of the Light, as well as the Visage, you all are welcome to send us your experiences about that. Maybe if it's before Tuesday, we can bring it up in our next podcast. But yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah, let's wrap this up.
Alrighty, well, thank you for tuning in again, guys. Of course, you can find us on the Twitter, the Facebook, on iTunes, on Stitcher, and of course, here on YouTube and Twitch. So until next time, guys, episode number 37, we will see you then.